Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at some of the important list methods that let us work with the list elements and try to like manipulate and update a given list. The first method that we're looking at is known as dot append. So what this does is that it allows addition of elements to a given list. So let's try doing that. For instance, I have this list S and I'm going to do S dot and then append. And this is similar to some of the string methods that we've seen. And within the parentheses, you just specify what you want to append, and it's going to append or add that thing or that element at the end of the list. For example, in this case, let's say we want to add berries at the end and then just like print S to see if this was done or not, right? So let's run this and you can see that berries were added as the last element, right? So this is how dot append works. The second method we are looking at is dot insert, and this is important because sometimes let's say you wanted to add an element at a particular position. You don't want to add it at the end of the list, right? So what we can do here is that I can do s dot insert, and it is going to take two parameters. The first one is the position. So let's say I want to insert something at position 1, which is like right after pear. And what I want to insert here is cherries, let's say, and then let me print s again so that we can see how that s is different from this because it has updated my s, right? Okay, so the first one was something like this, like the first print statement, the output is this. And then in the next print statement, cherries were added at position 1, right? So that's the fundamental difference between dot append and dot insert. There is another useful method, that's dot remove, that helps you remove certain elements. And let me show you how it works. So s dot remove, and you have to specify what you want to remove. Let's say I want to remove pear, so you'll have to like explicitly say what element do you want to remove, and it's going to just remove that and print s. Let's run this. So notice like in the third list, pear is removed. And this is important because let's say there was another pair at the end. So which pair is it going to remove? Well, it's going to remove the very first occurrence of that element. So just remember that that's what happens with dot remove. There is another method that's known as dot pop that like explicitly removes the last element. So if you try this dot pop and print s, you'll see that this removes the last element by default. But then with dot pop, you have this like flexibility that you can add the index of like which element do you want to remove. So I can say if there were two pairs, like pair 1 and like let's say there was a pair here as well, right? So let me just write that here. And let's like get rid of all of this, right? So that we are clear. If I do a dot pop, right, it is by default going to remove the last pair. But I can, okay, let me show you first without talking too much, right? So it has removed the last pair, notice. But let me just like go and add that pair again, right, and create that list again. And let's say I want to remove the first pair and not the last one. So I'm going to do s.pop and s and then run it. And so it has removed the first one and not the last one. So this is another useful method. Maybe I can just like write it down here. Dot pop sometimes really helps. All right. And because like lists are iterables, we call them iterables because like every element has a value and a position, we can use them with loops. For example, let's use this one with loops. Let me get rid of all of this and here. Now I can exploit the indices in my loop. For example, I can say start from 0, right? And while I is less than length of my list, go and print every element, right? So let me go and print every element in S. You know how to access every element, so I can do S and then index I. And finally, remember with the while loop, I have to go and change I plus equals 1. Let's see what this returns. All right, so you can see that it prints like every element of this list in a new line because this is what we want to do. Now this is useful because sometimes, let's say, I just wanted to print every element except pairs. So I can like add more functionality here, and I can say if s of I, right, not equals pair, then just like go and print that element, otherwise don't print, right? And notice like this increment should be outside this if because I don't care whether it was a pair or not. I still increment my loop. Okay, let's run this. right? So it prints everything except pair because I added this if statement. You could have captured this condition in the while loop itself, but this is just demonstrating that using this technique of indexing, you can access list elements and do a lot of things with it, like do a lot of manipulation with it. All right, so with this, I'll end this video. Thank you.